Hello everybody, once again, the brothers are working together to make another video. This time it will be on A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors because we just recently saw this as special midnight screening on April 10th. So I am Kevin Forte, also known as Deadhand Kev.
I'm Matthew Forte, known as Matthew Forte.
So we're going to be talking about a recap of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. We'll get to the other films later on, and if you do know me, not only this is my favorite film in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but this is also my favorite horror movie of all time, along with Day of the Dead. So, of course, Wes Craven feels that this one is being more as the sequel because he was not happy with part 2 of the direction it went. So he, along with Frank Darabont and Chuck Russell, decided to team together to make this third film. The script was actually more nasty when Wes Craven did this.
Yeah, like the original first draft was done by Wes Craven. I believe he had help by another screenwriter named Bruce Wagner. The first version they had, Freddy was much more sadistic, aggressive, mean, and just the overall tone of it was darker and bleaker than the version that was eventually released. New Line wasn't totally feeling it, so they got Frank Darabont and Chuck Russell, the film's director, to go ahead and rewrite the script. And from that point, the rest is history.
So Craven returns as producer of the film, but also 2 other actors return back in this film. Well, 3 if you want to count Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. But Heather Langenkamp returns back as Nancy Thompson, and the late John Saxon returns as Donald Thompson. We also got some actors that got careers later on. Patricia Arquette, of course, you know, she is an Academy Award-winning actress, so I think.
Yeah, I think she won an Oscar for Boyhood, the movie Boyhood, back in the 2010s.
She also did a TV show called Medium, but my favorite film, along with Nightmare on Elm Street 3 of hers, is True Romance.
Yeah, true classic.
And of course, Lawrence Fishburne, who has not admitted he was in this movie. Because his name is Larry Fishburne. You're shade of horror movies. I mean, you did Event Horizon, great movie.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, come on, Morpheus. Just admit, don't worry, I still got respect for you. I'm still a fan. I just wish you admit you were in this film.
I don't know, maybe you did inside a later interview we didn't come across.
So also we do have some new actors as well. We have Greg Watson as Dr. Neil Gordon, Ken Sajos as Ronald Kincaid. We also have Ronnie Eastman as Joey, Jennifer Rubin as Taryn, Bradley Gregg as Philip, Ira Hayden, whatever his name is, as Will, Penelope Sundro as Jennifer, Brooke Bundy as Christian's mother, Elaine Parker, and Priscilla Poiter as Dr. Sims, and also Nan Martin as the Nun. So it says IMDb, but you know, Sister Mary Helena. Okay, so we get to a quick recap of this film. So the film opens up with Christian. As you know, she's building this house, which is 1428 Elm Street. She's knowing about this house. She sees it somehow because she never lived in it. She's trying everything to stay awake, but her mother comes in and says, "Go to sleep. I got a guest. No, I don't need your bullshit tonight." She goes to sleep. She wakes up and she's outside of Frey's house. She sees a little girl on a tricycle entering Frey's house. She goes in there. She finds her in the boiler room. Things start going crazy. Guess who's home?
The man of your dreams or your nightmares, Mr. Frederick Krueger.
So she grabs a little girl. She gets stuck in this sticky floor. Freddy Krueger comes in, but she managed to elude him. She ends up in a room where her body's being hanged. The little girl says, "Put me down, you're hurting me." The girl's bones. She wakes up, but she's still in a dream because when she enters the bathroom, the faucet knobs turn into hands. And you see Freddy Krueger in the mirror. The one is the glove, slashes her wrist, but her mother comes in. Oh, she's slicing her own wrist with a razor. And to the hospital, we meet some of the characters. We meet Dr. Gordon, Dr. Sims, Kincaid, who's in the quiet room. We also meet Jennifer, Philip, and also Taryn. An intercom comes in and calls Dr. Sims, Dr. Gordon to the examiner's room. Because Christian was about to be sedated, she's going crazy. She even cuts Max, that's Lawrence Fishburne's character. She starts singing the infamous jump rope song. And when she tries to finish it up, saying never, never, Nancy comes and says never sleep again. After that, Neil and Nancy get acquainted. Neil talks about they lost a kid who cut his own eyelid, so he won't go to sleep. As they're about to depart their separate ways, Nancy actually drops her purse, and there's a pill in there. It's called Hypnosil. Neil is not familiar with that. Then Neil sees a mysterious nun who's there that disappears. Then we see Nancy meet up with Max, and then she meets Kincaid and Philip. Of course, the character Philip, he's a sculptor. He uses wood to cut, not a knife, because in case he slits his wrist. We did meet Joey, who's pining over this older woman, which he can never get. And when she walks away with the other disorderly guy, he has this tear tattoo that mysteriously is there, that mysteriously is gone. It's the only scene.
Yeah, what's that about?
What is that about? And we know he's a simp, whatever. So Nancy visits Elaine Parker, gets her stuff. She sees the house that she built, which is the Forte Elm Street house that she used to live in. Neil is checking out on this Hypnosil, which is not even approved by the FDA. It's also an experimental drug for dreams. Wondering why she's taking this. Of course, Chris has another dream again. She's back at Freddy's house. She sees a dead pig on the table, which comes alive. She then enters a room, which gets all shaky, stops. She springs up, and Freddy is now this snake creature. She pulls Nancy into her dream. Nancy comes in, breaks into a mirror. She gets a mirror piece and stabs Freddy eye. Freddy remembers her. Say, you. They wake up, and Nancy sees Christian next day talking about the house that she built because she's living in that house, and talks about her powers that Christian and her father both exchanged. And then they all have this meeting. We also meet Will, who was in a wheelchair because he took a job. We learned that the character Taryn took drugs. Jennifer wants to be a movie star. Joey used to talk, but not anymore, and he was a baiter. And they all encounter Freddy in their dreams. And then Sim says this whole thing is a byproduct of guilt and sexual thingies.
Yeah, vert sexuality.
Now we get to Philip.
Yeah, so Philip is asleep in his room with Kincaid, and then Philip, he goes and carves puppets. One of these puppets are finished, and it morphs into Freddy. Freddy goes ahead and he becomes big. He enlarges to full-size Freddy. Philip awakens. Freddy goes ahead and slashes Philip on his arms, on his legs, and out of these slashes, I believe his blood veins come out, and Freddy's able to go ahead and manipulate him like a marionette. And then so he brings Philip outside to, I don't know if it's a window or something, but this huge opening outside that has no barriers or anything. The other, I was saying Dream Warriors are going to be Dream Warriors. They waken, most of them, and they see Philip. They're looking through the window. They see Philip higher up in the building, and Freddy goes ahead and cuts the strings, the veins, and Philip unfortunately falls to his death. The next morning, the group goes ahead and everybody assembles for a meeting, talking about the aftermath of Philip's demise. And, the kids are saying that it was Freddy who went ahead and did this. Neil Gordon's not buying any of it. He thinks he's just a figment of their imagination. And a whole lot of conflict arises. Kincaid goes ahead and, he gets up and, gets outraged. And then Kincaid, they go ahead and they take him away to the quiet room. And then at that point, Nancy goes ahead and suggests that, to give the kids Hypnosil so they can stop dreaming and they can stop coming across Freddy and maybe eventually find some way to stop him.
And so Sims doesn't approve of it, but Gordon says, he'll put his resignation, and she says, okay, fine, you do it, but you could be fully responsible for this. So Jennifer now, she's trying to stay up because after Philip, she doesn't encounter Freddy. She also has a habit of taking the end of the cigarettes and burning herself. She then watches a talk show that has Dick Cavett in it, who's interviewing Zsa Zsa Gabor about how to succeed in life, study at work. But he turns to Freddy, and Freddy says, who gives a fuck what you think? She goes to the TV because the TV gets scrambled. She hits the TV. Freddy's arms comes out, and his head pops off the TV and says, this is it, Jennifer, your big break in TV. Robert Englund improvises a line, welcome to the prime time, bitch, and smashes her face to TV. And then Max comes in and sees she's dead. There's a funeral. Neil meets up with the mysterious nun, who says her name is Sister Helen Mariner.
Mary Helena.
Mary Helena, sorry. And she's explained to him the only way to stop this is that the unrested soul must be laid to rest. So later on, Neil and Nancy are having dinner and talking about the whole situation. And Nancy's telling Neil it's time for you to learn the truth about Freddy. They talk about this in a meeting with the kids who are still survived, who's left, say that they all have this power, and Christian's the key to link them all together to face Freddy. They take the hidden still, they all fall asleep. Looks like it doesn't work at first, but they are in a dream. Will can walk, and he's the wizard master because earlier they were playing this Dungeons and Dragons game. Christian knows gymnastics. Kincaid is the Hulk. And Taryn is beautiful and a badass. Joey, of course, follows the nurse. Nurse says excuse like, yeah, I come here all the time just to see you. They start making out, but his tongue gets pulled, and then all these tongues start coming out and tying his ankles and his wrists to the bedpost. And it's Freddy, but Freddy doesn't kill him. Freddy takes him and he's using him as bait. And then the room where the other survivors are, it's changing. It's getting all red and stuff. The walls are coming in. Door opens, but it's Dr. Sims. They're all knocked out. Sims discovers that Joey is out for the count. He's in a deep coma, which led for Carver to fire Nancy and Neil. And now they're under Sims' control. So now Neil is discovering Sister Mary Helena in the building.
Yeah, so Neil comes across Sister Mary Helena. Sister Mary Helena goes ahead and tells Neil the story about how this particular wing of the hospital, which is abandoned, but decades ago, it used to house basically people who had mental issues, mental challenges, and some of them had criminal histories. And then one day during the holiday season, a young nun gets accidentally trapped in there with the inmates and 100 bastards, and they basically, they go ahead and they sexually assault a nun. And unfortunately, after that incident, the nun becomes pregnant, and she becomes pregnant with Freddy Krueger. Sister Mary Helena tells Neil that Freddy's remains needs to be buried in hollowed ground, and I will go ahead and put an end to the nightmare that is at hand. Neil goes ahead and goes to Nancy, and Nancy and him go ahead and visit her father, who is now at this point estranged and has been demoted. Well, I don't know if he's demoted, but he used to be a lieutenant of the police, and now he's a security guard. He is drinking his sorrows away. Nancy asks Donald for help, her father, to see the whereabouts of Freddy's bones. He's resisted at first. He just doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want to lose it anymore, lose anything else. And Nancy leaves because she thinks that he's not going to do anything. And then she goes ahead to the hospital to help out the kids. Neil decides, hey, well, let me take a shot at Donald. And he convinces Donald, like, no, you are going to help us find Freddy's remains. And Donald reluctantly goes with Neil. Neil and Donald, they go to a church. Neil goes ahead and gets holy water and borrows a crucifix. And from that point forward, they head on to the junkyard where his bones are remained. At the same time, Christian is not taking it well that Nancy has been fired, and Sims wants Christian to trust her. Christian's like, basically, F this. Christian gets in a temper tantrum. They go ahead and they sedate Christian. The other Dream Warriors, they go ahead and contact Nancy, which is why she went to the hospital to begin with, to go ahead and help them and help Christian for the last battle against Freddy.
But as smart as Freddy is, he separates them when they start getting into the dream world. Christian's back in the, in the opening, seeing her mother. Her mother's more nicer. She does have a guest, says, Elaine, where you keep the bourbon. Comes back, but it's Freddy Krueger, says, I said, where's the fucking bourbon? Decapitates her head. Christian escapes Freddy, breaks through a window, and she's back in the house of 1428 Elm. Taryn encounters Freddy in an alley. They both have a knife fight. She actually gets one up on Freddy. But Freddy's like saying, why should we fight? Well, friends, you and I. He reviews both his hands are now drug needles, and you see the marks, those beauty marks that's supposed to be ancient history, come back, and Freddy overdoses her. Will encounters Freddy in one end, and then there's a wheelchair in the other, which is this deadly torture wheelchair that has these rims that's like spikes. It hits Will, but then Will turns into the Wizard Master, destroys the wheelchair, zaps Freddy, but unfortunately Freddy doesn't believe in fairy tales, so Freddy gives him the 4 fingers of death. So the remaining survivors, Nancy, Christian, Kincaid, all meet up in this room. This door mysteriously appears. They go inside the door. They see Joey, who's tied up. Freddy appears. Nancy demands Freddy to let her go. Freddy's like, yo, which is my command. He starts unleashing the tugs that's holding him. Nancy does save Joey, but the weight was just too much. But Kincaid, with his super Hulk strength, pulls him up. Christian's deal with Freddy Krueger. Kincaid comes in to save for her as well, but he gets choked up. Freddy reveals that he has the souls of all the victims that he's killed, but then he feels something rattling his bones because Dr. Gordon and Donald Thompson find Freddy's remains in the back of Christine, to get the caddy. But for some reason, Freddy leaves the dream world, goes to reality, and start making the cars work again.
Yeah, like Freddy, once Freddy is taken out of the real world, established in the first Elm Street film, he's powerless. But for some reason in this film, not only is he powerful, he's actually very powerful. And he's able to go ahead and possess his bones. He's able to go ahead and cause all the cars in the junkyard to start honking and beeping and all this other stuff and just dropping from the piles. Is like, and one of the problems Wes Craven had with part 2 is because it kind of didn't listen to the rules of part 1, but then Wes Craven's kind of doing the same thing. But I guess you can say it's his creation, he can do whatever he wants. So
yeah, but Neil and Donald are not asleep.
Yeah, they're not asleep. That's the thing. Like, how's Freddy, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever. Freddy kills Donald for late revenge for burning him. He takes out Dr. Gordon, but not killing him, but knocking him into his plot. Freddy goes back into this room, meets up with the remaining Dream Warriors. He's in these mirrors. They attack Nancy, they attack Christian, they attack Kincaid, pull him into the mirrors. Joey finds his power, which is a singing voice. Or, as we say, he goes full Darth Vader, goes, no! And the mirrors break, they get free, they think it's over. Then Donald Thompson suddenly appears from the skies of heaven, saying to Nancy, he crossed over, but he couldn't love this, he couldn't leave it. He says how much he loves her. But then she feels a stabbing pain when they start hugging. It's actually Freddy Krueger who gets his victory, killing her. He goes to another fight with Christian. Christian's overpowered. He's about to kill Christian, but Freddy, of course, he does what a lot of people do best: turn away from the body. Nancy's still alive and impales him with his own finger knives. Neil wakes up, takes the remains, his bones, puts them in a plot, douses it with holy water, puts the cross. Freddy explodes a light. He then just disappears, and Nancy dies. So they go to Nancy's funeral. Neil spots Sister Mary Helena, but he goes over there and tries to find her. He sees her gravesite. Not only says her name on it, it also says Amanda Krueger. The nun she was talking about earlier, named Amanda Krueger, is the mother of Freddy Krueger. So yeah, his own mother fucked him up. So it seems like it's the holidays, because you got Christmas lights and wreaths. Neil is sleeping. He has Nancy's Malaysia doll, Christian's house, and the light goes on, so Freddy is back, and with the help of dog piss from the next film.
Yeah, which is one of the stupidest returns of how a villain comes back ever. It's just dumb.
Or any character comes back ever.
Yeah, true.
Or any Harlan. Okay, so that's Nightmare on Street 3. So now we're going to do a little small talk of what we saw in Nightmare on Elm Street at the theater on April 10th. So I dressed up as Freddy, entertained some people. One of the people says that their mother killed Freddy twice, which reveals the only person who did that, who survived Freddy twice, was Alice. So this was actually the son of actress Lisa Wilcox, Ryan Wilcox. So me and my brother got to talk to him.
Yeah, it was really cool speaking with him, and seeing him, and seeing everybody else there to be there for Freddy for the revival screen of Nightmare on Street 3.
And it was just great seeing the people get into it. It was almost a full house. Maybe just at best like 4 seats were still available. People just loved the characters in it.
And it was even more awesome that our younger brother Christopher was able to go with us. All 3 of us went ahead and saw the movie, enjoyed the movie. It was our first time seeing it on the big screen. We've been wanting to see it on the big screen for years and years. And finally, you know, that dream came true. And it felt surreal, but at the same time, it felt amazing. Like to see this, to me, masterpiece of a movie on the silver screen with a crowd that was really into it. They particularly loved Kincaid. And seeing them, you know, just really enjoy it. And yeah, it was just a fantastic experience.
And the thing is, this is the film that got me into Freddy because this is the first film I knew Freddy, but Matthew says I knew from before of a flyer of a Nightmare on Elm Street 2, even though I don't remember this flyer.
Yeah, it was a flyer that I remember seeing as a little kid. I don't know if it's for a video store or what, but it was definitely promoting Nightmare on Elm Street 2, coming out on video, already on video. And I haven't heard about Nightmare on Elm Street and never heard of Freddy Krueger. I thought the image was pretty intriguing. It was the poster of the movie where Freddy looks like he's like around the corner, the close-up. And I nicknamed him Pizza Face because I didn't know his name. But then later on, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came out. I remember seeing the commercials. Like, I definitely got to see that movie.
And for that, I started watching Nightmare on Elm Street. We got a chance to see a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on video in 1988. My brother rented that along with part 2.
Yeah, part 2, we rented it from this supermarket that also had that like a video store inside it. It was something like never seen before or since. We started watching part 2 that night, that Saturday night, but we only got maybe 20 or so minutes in. And, you know, it wasn't that we thought it was boring, but we were so excited to see Dream Warriors. We didn't want to wait anymore, so we stopped part 2, watched it that next morning, and we put on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and our lives were changed for the better forever.
And to me, this was the best version of Freddy. It still has his darkness, but also blends in some of his humor. Of course, the humor grew too much in the later films. Like, this is why there's a lot of people out there who are not a fan of Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare because it just went to Looney Tunes. Matthew's not a fan of it.
No, not at all. I do not like Freddy's Dead, though I do not hate it as much as I used to, but it is a pretty bad movie, and it's a comedy. It's a joke to me.
Part 3, I think, did the right balance. Since this film, I became a huge Freddy fan. I'm a Freddy fan for life, and I will be seeing Elm Street 3 in theaters again, hopefully at a horror convention, and hopefully there'll be others dressed up as Freddy. And enjoying this movie because this movie to me is a masterpiece. It's the best Nightmare film ever, the best horror film ever, along with Day of the Dead. And you know, it's something that it's a film you can pass into other generations because I'm glad I saw people who were not even born in the 80s or 90s, like somewhere in the 2000s, watching this film, wearing Freddy shirts and taking pictures with them. These are a lot of cool people. I'm glad that this film is still getting recognition after all these years.
Yes, and it's a film that is highly recognized, even though I think it should be recognized even more. You know, people talk about part 1, and rightfully so, it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. I think part 2 is even a greater film than part 1. I think they should be spoken about in the same breath. But maybe one day that'll happen. But regardless of what happens in that way, it will always be a grand champion to me. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, the cast, the characters, the direction, the writing, the atmosphere, everything about this movie is about as perfect as a film could get with me. And I just love Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
So that wraps this up, talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. We will be working together again, this time not on a horror movie, but on a horror video game franchise, and that is Resident Evil, since it's 30 years of this great video game horror franchise.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. No, it is my favorite horror video game franchise of all time. So many great games, so many great moments from those games. And I can't wait to go ahead and talk about. I forgot Spencer Mansion.
So yeah, because I did talk about we're gonna do more video games and past stuff. So here's the first one on a video game. So I'm glad about that. I am Kevin Forte, also known as Deadhand Kev.
I am Matthew Forte, also known as Matthew Forte.
And I just want to say that do not dress up as wizards or goblins and stuff, because Freddy Krueger doesn't believe in fairy tales.
No, he doesn't.
So see you in the next video and take care.
Take care.